Hello and welcome everyone. It's Shanna and we are back with our Spellbinders Club kits again today. I've got the small die of the month and we have got a superhero woman. And I'm sure you guys have one of those in your life. And we've got the solar flame embossing folder of the month. And I have used some blue cardstock to emboss that panel. I've got all my pieces die cut out here in this little tray, and I'm going to zoom right in because we are going to be putting together some little bits and pieces. And so I thought I'd zoom in so you can take a closer look at it. And I did all of my die cutting in advance, and we're just going to get all of our little pieces and assemble. Because we've got this super woman, I wanted to kind of embellish her clothes a little bit more than what was just kind of how it was designed. And so I've taken some of that treasured gold cardstock from Spellbinders, and I have die cut several of the pieces out a second time so that we can line all of her clothing with this nice little golden trim and just kind of jazz it up. And so just going to add a little extra embellishment to her clothes using it. So we're going to do it with the skirt, the cape, the boots, and the glove. And I have also die cut out her crown in this. It's a gold glitter cardstock. And I'm just going to put a nice little edge on all the bits and pieces with it. And I think it'll add just a little nice flair to it. Kind of change it up a little bit. So here are the boots, and I die cut them out in red. And I've also got them in gold. And because they start off wide at the top and then narrow at the bottom, and we're going to offset them, I'm going to need to just kind of snip them down. And so I'll just take my scissors and just kind of snip the top part that I'm going to use to embellish, and then we'll discard the rest of them. And she's just going to have a nice little gold trim along the tops of her boots. And so we've got some itty bitty pieces, and that's why I zoomed in really tight. And I'm just enjoying a cup of coffee this morning as I do this voiceover. So I'm just going to get it laid down on there. And we've got some nice little trim on the tops of these boots. And I've got my fine tip nozzle glue for this, and then my tweezers. Those are your best friends when you're working with these little bitty die cut pieces. And this is really my jam. You guys know I'm the die cutting queen. I love all the little tiny bits and pieces. The more the merrier. And it's just like assembling paper dolls is what we're doing here. So this is her little arm, and I've just used some craft cardstock for her arms and legs just to give her a little, she's got a nice little tan going. And it's kind of, her arm is kind of meant to be on her hip, and so it's kind of angled funny. It looks kind of interesting. And we'll have to get it kind of tucked in to where it's on her, kind of on her skirt area. So this is where I decide maybe I should go ahead and attach the skirt so that I can line it up correctly. And so we'll grab the skirt and get it lined up. There is nice deboss detail on that shirt so that you know exactly where to line the skirt up, and the cape as well. So I'm just going to position her arm to where it looks like it's on her hip. And I will need to add her glove, which I'll get that later. We'll get it laid down on there. And this is the little band. She's got a little belt on her skirt. And I use the gold cardstock for that as well, because she's got to have all the bling. And just giving it a press. And then here's her legs, and she is designed to be movable. She's got the little hole to where we can put the little foam circle in there, and then her legs will swing. And I will do that. I'm not going to glue her down like all the way. I'll use the square. And we're going to get her little boots on here. Get them laid down on there. And she's starting to come together. Isn't that cute? Fun set. I think this is a great little set for, all the mothers in the world that, do everything every day to keep everything running in the house. I was thinking of my daughters with this, and I just think it's a fun set for that. So I've got another gold glitter panel here. This is like the decorative element to her badge of honor, and it actually goes on the cape. We're going to get it laid down on there. Just add a little glue and tuck it on there. It's going to kind of be on an angle because her cape is kind of swooped, and there's real good, like I said, there's real good detail on that shirt that shows you. I think I'll lift it up and show it to you. Let's see, I'm going to get a hold of it. Maybe. Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it on there, but there's a good line on there. Get those legs out of the way. And then I'm going to get her cape on there. Now, the cape's going to lay over a couple of layers, so I'll have a little trouble getting it stuck down, and it'll fall off, and then I'll have to glue it back on there. You could even use a real thin, like a 1 millimeter dimension foam for the cape to make it lay flat. Now, that's where I've lost it. When I went to pick her up to add her head, I lost the cape, so we're going to bring it back in and get it laid down on there. Give it a good press. And then she doesn't have another arm because the cape's holding it up. And, we're looking at the back of her, so we don't have any facial elements. We just have our hair that is just blowing in the wind. And then we've got a little crown for the top of her head because she is a superstar. And there's the little, how you get those little raised circles from your dies on there. And there's one on there. And I was given a little press with my bone folder just to kind of get rid of that little bump. And I had a little glue on my finger, so I'm wiping that off as well. So we're just going to put our little crown down. And it's just a teeny tiny little thing. I mean, we've got some little teeny bits and pieces here that we're working with. Super cute. I love all that gold on there. It just adds an extra touch to it. And our little boots, they've got an extra little decorative element on them. And I think we're about ready to get to assembling our card. So I've got my card base, and I'm that gold panel, that's the treasured cardstock from Spellbinders. And you guys know on my channel, I don't like to waste, and you'll see me do this a lot. And I was thinking as I was doing that this morning, bringing this panel in, that that might be kind of an oddity that I do that you don't see on other creators. But I use these pieces because, the cardstock is expensive and you want to make the most of it. So what I try to do is when I know that I want to use it is I will position my die cut pieces into the center of the panel so that I know I have, at least 1/4 of an inch all the way around that A2 panel so that I can lay it down as my frame. And that is what I like to do. That is my conservative feature so that I can kind of reduce my cost and make the most out of that cardstock. And I've got an embossed panel. No one will know that it's underneath there. And I have been thrifty. So just giving it a good press and making sure we got a good hold. I got it lined up there nice and neat. And then we have some other elements. We've got some clouds, and I've die cut out 4 of them. I think I'm only going to use 3. I'm going to have the bigger one so that she's, up in the sky standing on the cloud, and it'll be a nice place to position her. And then we'll have the other 2 up in the air. And this is where I've realized, oh, I haven't put the glove on her arm. And so I'm going to get the pieces together and get the glove added to her arm. I've got the gold piece there. I was eyeballing it thinking, do I just want gold gloves? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and layer it just like I did the other elements and get some. I'm putting glue on here, but I need to cut it down, so I'm going to fool with it. We'll get it cut down and get it added. And here's where I'm like, I need to cut that down. So I can just put the strip on it. I've got glue on there, so I'm gonna fiddle with it. It's gonna get stuck on my fingers. I'm gonna fiddle around with it, but we'll get it attached. And I had a good amount of time fiddling with that and getting the glue off my fingers and everything, so I cut a little bit of that out so you wouldn't have to watch me having it stuck to my fingers. And then we're just gonna put it on our little arm, and then she's got some decorative gloves as well. And I zoomed in so you could see all the detail. And so when I'm pulling it in closer to me, I'm kind of getting a little out of frame there, so I apologize for that. So isn't that cute? I think the gold really adds a little shimmer and kind of bedazzles her a little bit. So we've got our frame, we've got our clouds. We're just going to get our clouds laid down on there, and she's going to be standing on this larger cloud. So I'll just get this glued up. And I can see I've got a bunch of little tiny die cutting hairs from my plates on the back side of my cloud. So it's time to get some new plates so that we don't have that issue. Just cleaning up some hairs off the edge of the clouds, some die cutting hairs, and we'll get these positioned up here. And get them laid down on there. Just cleaning up any glue and giving it a good press. And we are going to get our super powered lady down on our card base. So I brought in a foam circle, and I'm just going to put it on there. And this will allow her little legs to be movable. She'll be a little interactive card that you can shake, 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 and she'll dance up there in the clouds. And we're going to get a bunch of foam squares put on her body, and so that it'll be level. And we've got her just up there in the clouds, standing with her hand on her hips, and her legs are movable. And I think it's super fun. And I like the sheen of that gold cardstock that I've added to it. Now I have chosen to use the name of the die, that You're Unstoppable, for my sentiment. And I used the treasured gold cardstock. And I'm just gluing it up a little out of focus there because, like I said, I did zoom in. We're going to offset this a little bit so we can show some red underneath there and just kind of get it laid down on some of that red. That's poppy cardstock from Spellbinders, the red that I'm using in there. And I think I've got Cosmic Sky for her shirt. And we'll just get this glued up, and we're going to put it up there in the clouds. And it's a big sentiment. It's probably 4 inches across, so I'm going to have to get it all the way across that panel. And I'm laying across my clouds, so it's going to take me a minute to get it stuck down. And I think it's a little bit uneven. I'll move it and kind of push down a little bit more on it. And here's where I need a little bit more glue. And I've decided that I've got to line it up and give it a good press. Super, super fun. And we've got a bunch of stars. You've also got a die that has a cluster of stars. And so I did take and die cut it out a couple of times. And we're going to add some of those as our embellishment on our card. I'm going to put 3 on this cloud, and then we'll put 2 at the bottom. And we'll have 5 stars there. And you've got different sizes. You've got small, medium, large. Actually, I don't know. There's probably 4 or 5 different sizes of stars with the die. And you can make your little superwoman just any color. She could be cute in pinks and just whatever your favorite color is. But I've been kind of on a red, white, and blue theme with this month's clubs, and so I'm just kind of continuing it as I'm working with all the products. I guess I'm going to have a matched or a coordinated set of club cards this month. So I think it's super fun. I love the detail on the boots and the skirt and the cape with the extra gold, and I think it's super fun. So just layer those pieces up. So here's a picture. I hope you like it. If you did, consider hitting that like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.